I think that means we started. I'm doing this without glasses, so excuse me if I can't see, like I couldn't even find the button on my thing here. So, good morning.
Good morning, Deborah Leanne.
And how are you, Suzanne Joy?
I am so well, thank you.
I am delighted to talk about this gene key. Would you like to introduce this gene key? And then you started to say, and I stopped you,
I know.
your thoughts about this gene key as you were going to bed last night. So
Yeah.
why don't you kick us off?
So this is the 42nd gene key, and we're talking about gene keys written by Richard Rudd. And this is moving from the shadow of seriousness, which we all have very big bouts of, like serious, to the acidic state of ecstasy, and it's all through the gift of the delight.
I need to correct you. 46. I think you said
40,
42nd.
Oh, 46. Sorry. 46. See, can't take this stuff too seriously.
Well,
So, and really, as I was going to bed last night, the thing that came to me was, Suzanne, this is about dancing with the divine. It is attuning yourself to the frequency of just pure joy and play, and it's the muse, it's the dancing in delightfulness.
yeah. And no accident that my life's work line is dancer. So, and this gene key shows up for me in my radiance. So when I am operating from seriousness, guess what I get to emanate and attract? More seriousness. So I can see how I create that. Like he was talking about the science of luck. If I want to be in my serious mode, guess what I attract? All super serious people, clients, family. But when I am in that delight space, first of all, it's a little bit more transparent and it travels a little farther. My ripples do, and it's when I attract people that it can operate in that lighthearted, delighted space. Ecstasy has been an enigma for me. And I'm still working on understanding it up here, but I'm starting to notice what it feels like in my body. So I would love for everyone to join us today in just an opportunity to tap into where is that? What does it feel like? So we can revisit it.
Okay.
Even if it's just for a few seconds or minutes a day, but that's the beauty of this work. The more we practice and the more we are with others in community practicing, it amplifies it around the globe.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's do it.
Are you ready? Okay. So first of all, I would like to get us into our bodies. And I invite you to put your feet flat on the floor. It's funny, I say that because mine are never flat on the floor until I say that. And then your hands on your knees, like in your lap, or you could take your right hand and put it around your belly. I like to put my thumb in my belly button and then cup my belly because it just brings my attention down and into that part of my body. And then we're just going to slow our breath down. See if we can feel our feet opening into feeling the heartbeat of Mother Earth, the Earth star that we are so beautifully and gently held on. Feeling gravity is such a cool thing because it automatically puts me into an appreciation of, look how I'm supported, literally, and held. So feeling gravity and the exchange with Mother Earth through our feet, feeling our own breath as it gathers and releases through our belly. And then as we straighten into our full dignity, our full nobility, if you will, the ability to hold our earthliness, our physicality with our divinity. So this is an opportunity to lengthen and plug into divine while we're plugged into Mother Earth's, magnetic and electronic energy that we are also part of. And this allows us to be fully present to all of our energy, all of our wisdom from our length. Then this is our dimension from right to left, is our dimension of belonging. And as we straighten our shoulders and imagine that you can take your ears and pull them out and stretch your brain and be able to hear and see all around, like the shamans do. They imagine there's like 20,000 eyes in all directions. So we pull our right and left out. We extend, we can feel both hips, both feet, both knees, both ears, both lobes of the brain are all being held and connected, but yet stretched a bit. And the third is to feel into what lights us up. And this is the fun part. Now that we've got our body in our length and our awesomeness fully engaged, we get to drop in, and what is it that just brings a smile to our face? It could be a loved one. It could be a favorite place in nature. It could be a delicious meal that I had last night. It could be doing what we love in the world that just brings us so much pleasure. It could be an orgasmic experience. It could be whatever it is that lights your body up. And we feel that. And at the same time that we're remembering that, we feel where we are in this moment. Can we feel the air on our skin, the clothes on our skin? Can we feel our breath? And this is what we want to sustain as much as possible, being in our bodies, tapped into joy or delight or pleasure or ecstasy, and allowing that to just emanate from us, almost as if we're a lighthouse. So this light that we are now, that is just expanded with our delight that we're creating, can we send it through the screen? Can I send it to you, Suzanne? Can I send it to anyone who's listening? Can we send it to the sides, to our neighbors, who's ever living on either side of me in my house? Can I send it around the planet? And that just brings me so much joy, because it's like it amplifies me in my little human body to my light is now lit and shared around the globe. And we could do intergalactic if you're into that kind of thing. Can we share it to all the other light beings? Can we receive theirs and have an exchange? Oh, that brings me so much joy. So that's how I have been practicing embodying joy, embodying delight. And dare I say, I don't know why I have a thing about this word, embodying ecstasy. I mean, it just feels like such a big word. Like, I'm a little kid and I can't use this big word because it's for adults.
Oh, goodness. Well, it's funny. It's ecstasy really comes down to the spiritual and the human. It's the beingness of our divinity. And one of the things that Richard says, and I quoted this earlier, there is actually no work more important on this earth than play. And when we become truly playful, we actually reshape the nature of our collective reality.
I think that's so true.
Yeah.
Would you talk about that art camp that you went to? And
Yeah.
I mean, that flow, that state of creative play that you were in. You're
Right.
so much better at this, and I need to learn more about it.
Well, and this is what he says, is that this great truth of the 46th city and its vast importance to today's modern over serious world, only ecstasy can silence the mind. only ecstasy can solve the problems of the world, and only ecstasy can lead to world peace and universal love.
Which is why we need ecstatic leaders.
Yes. And it's because we're creating from that just juicy space of pure love, pure joy. And yeah, when I went to art camp a few weeks ago, and I just got to play for 3 days. I wasn't facilitating, I just participated, and it gave me permission. Isn't that funny? Why do I still need permission?
I know.
Why does any one of us need permission to be all of ourselves? But it gave me permission to think outside of myself in my box, because sometimes we put ourselves in boxes of the creative process. And so I played with colors and shapes and, and different textiles. And so it doesn't have to look anything. I've done that with my voice, but doing something tactically
Yeah.
with items was a completely different experience for me. And it reminded me, you can do this all the time. Like, you can choose to play like this on the daily.
Yeah.
And so I've made a conscious choice now for me to delight in that space, which lights me up, even though I may not understand exactly what I'm creating. And it
And
can
I
be
think that's where I stopped doing art if it wasn't for a purpose. Like if I wasn't repurposing an old chair and painting it, or if I wasn't, fixing something and painting it,
right.
Then I felt like and that's when I stopped taking art classes. If it wasn't for, a focus. And now I miss, and not having children around, I think that would make a big difference, is being with kids. I know you worked with kids and I have too. They have that innate creativity that's just bursting at the seams.
Yeah. And this key is specific to that developmental stage of 0 to 7.
Yes.
So thinking with that very childlike mind of being able to just not, oh, cool.
You can't see it, but in the background of all of that, it says Deborah. But there's like little hidden things I put in here. So I went to art retreats years ago, and both of them were by writers, interestingly. And I followed them because I read their books, which were, of course, about creativity and all of that. And I did that for myself as therapy, I called it, when I was going through my divorce. But I mean, okay, so then I had to go back to work, and then I put on the serious hat again. And then there wasn't time for delight because I had to focus. And so is there a way to do focused play? Like, I mean, can I like I've been playing with it this week as I clean and prepare for guests and my daughter's wedding shower and all of those things, and hosting people at my house. And I'm like, can I do this with play? And that makes such a difference. Putting on beautiful music. I give myself little treats when I do different things. Like when I finish this area, it looks so pretty. I just sit and I just admire it. And like, so this is not my grandmother's style of cleaning by all means, but and I'm glad, because I've had a week to tear everything out of closets and go through things and get rid of things, and it makes it more therapeutic, but it also makes it more real. Like I'm not just stuffing stuff away.
Right. I love this. He says, it's basically like the language of love, what we're being as an ecstatic, and such men and women, the ecstatics, have not always found it necessary to remove themselves from the world, but have found their love within the world of ordinary life.
I think that's the line that I have highlighted, and I've never really, like, my brain just won't let it in.
Right.
So this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm talking about, is look at how I think it has to be something like in a spiritual sense, or that I'm serving other people, or can I have ecstasy washing the dishes? I mean, I can.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's letting go of your mind, and it's opening your heart and allowing the divinity to just move through you.
And
Do
it feels like flow. That's what
yeah,
feels the same when you're like painting and playing, is you're in that where timelessness state,
right.
and you're just letting yourself be guided, and it feels like you're on a canoe just floating down the river. It is so, and the other thing that, you know what it does is it gives my mind a break. I feel like I'm on a vacation, which I
Right.
think is where my brain gets a little, I love you, I do, and I appreciate all you do, and
Yeah.
you get to have a break now.
Yeah. I love that you, in the practice that we just did, the somatic practice we did, you know, have all of the senses attuned, because this key is all about the
Sensuality.
well, it's about sensuality, and it's also about the science of luck. Now,
Mhm.
mind you, there really is no luck. It's about attunement to your body and to places and things. And so one of the stories or allegories in this key is the rainmaker.
I love.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the rainmaker just is attuned to where it's going to rain, and he shows up. And everyone just goes, "Oh my God, he made it rain." No, he just knew where to be, when to be there.
Yeah. And
So, you
and
know,
that's,
that's
yeah,
the
and that is
attunement.
so not explainable to the
Right.
science mind.
No.
And our Western science logic brain, I mean, it's gotten, I mean, I think if we were to look at people's brains, like our logical side of our brain is probably like three-fourths,
I
nine
don't think
tenths of the
I,
brain.
I don't think it always was, but I think it's changed much over time,
Mhm.
um, just to try and store as much information. But always know that you always have the information that you need when you need it. You know, like
Well,
you
that's
don't
what he calls it, tapping in, right? So
right,
we don't
right,
have to be ecstasy. We just need to know how to tap into it and feel it and find it and then access it and then let it. It's like plugging, like this phone is nothing without a charging cord and without cell coverage, right? It has to, by itself, it's just a thing, which is what our body is, right? So when we plug in to the cord, I mean, into the wall to get the electromagnetic thing to make it juiced up, it still won't run if you don't have if you don't have cell coverage. You can't, it's
right.
not very, can't be very helpful to communicate. But then you plug it into Wi-Fi or a cell tower, and then
Your
it's like,
your operating system.
yeah. So it needs, we need both of those to be functional, to be able to communicate, to be able to be our true selves, like to really, I don't know, do our thing, be in service. I don't know what you want to say. You can tell I just woke up before we had our call.
Hmm.
So I have a question with what keeps us from tapping into joy or delight or ecstasy? What keeps us in the serious mode?
I truly believe that it's old programming. There's somewhere along the line where we gained so much experience in our bodies that we didn't allow the experience to just flow through, but it stored memory,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I do with my play shops is just allow some of that extra energy to escape by making sounds and allowing that to play out. And also using color and that space of drawing and not having a idea about it or any judgment around it, it gives the freedom, again, permission. I don't know why we need permission, but sometimes I know it's like, what? It frees people up to think, oh, wow, I never thought about doing this way, and just allowing myself to do this. And it frees up that space,
Mm-hmm.
creates more space,
Yeah.
more flow state.
And don't you think, well, our culture, if we're on media at all, it's mostly serious. It's mostly what's not right with the world. It's mostly,
Right. And
which
that's
is which is why I like listening to the public radio station, because especially in their early morning hour, they always have a story of something that's right. So there's always something that brings a smile to my face. And I'm like, oh, thank God there's beautiful things going on the planet. I mean,
right.
because
I
we
mean, it's
tend to hear 99% of all news is the crappy stuff.
well, and that's it. Like, what are you programming? What are you listening to? I did a lot of work around what I'm choosing to tune into. And I think that's the essence of the ecstatic. They tend to protect and tend and garden their inner being.
Yeah.
And so it reshapes how they see life, and they don't subscribe to, like,
Right. The doom and gloom.
right,
Rachel Jane used to call it gloomy FM. Like what are you listening to, right?
right, right,
Gloomy FM,
right,
or
right.
she says you might be listening to something like reality FM. Like, this is what's going on. We're going to report the news as it is, and that's still reality. But can we tune into potential FM? That was the one she used to use. Like, what
Right.
else is going on?
What
What
else can
else
we
is
create?
out there? Yeah.
Right.
And I
Because
and I
there's so much more.
oh my
And
God.
we're only just scratching the surface. I mean, that's the thing that really blows my mind, is that we only use a portion of our capability. I think I forwarded you that artwork that this woman was doing. She had a a brush in her right hand, in her left hand, in her right toe, and her left toe, and she was doing like very detailed drawings of people simultaneously at the
And
same
she
time.
was doing two. She did four
Right,
on the top on the desk, and then a couple on the bottom with her feet. But she was
right.
doing, so she would move back and forth and do different ones, and she was and I don't know how she could track. Well, first of all, I don't know how she could draw with her feet or her left hand or her opposite
Right.
hand. I mean,
But that's
but
what I mean. Like, it,
we are not using
we're
anywhere
not
near our
even
capacity.
using even not even a tenth of our capabilities.
Yeah.
And that's where it's so important that we tap into our heart and we really tune in. And that's the key. That's really the key of our expansion.
Yeah. And I am not, I mean, a part of me gets excited about that. And a part of me is sad that I'm not living in the time that we could access. And I'm like, you just grow your own accessibility here.
Yeah, yeah. But it's great. I'm so glad that they're there, because then it's like, oh man, it gets even better.
It does. I know. And I say that sometimes to John. It's so funny. And that every once in a while we'll say something about, wow. And it does life just keep getting better? I mean, is that like, I didn't think when I got to be this age, 66 and 3/4 technically. But I mean, like, when you get to be this age, I always thought that was like, I'm thinking back to how old my grandmother was at different times and my mother, and they were so old to me. And now I'm like, oh, that's me. I'm the elder now. But if I'm here to help redefine aging and what it looks like to maybe add years to your life, but not um, fall into that old category of you are no longer of use to society, you are no longer needed, you are no longer qualified or intelligent, or all of the things that our society just kind of shoves the old people aside.
Well,
And
again, that's that mentality, right? That group think of what expectations there are about getting older.
well,
And,
everybody, yeah, that you have to be in pain or you lose your mind, or that you
right.
don't, you have to live a less fulfilled life, or there's all these. And I'm like, I'm having a hard time slowing down. So I can't imagine what my 70s and 80s will be like. I'm sure they'll be slower than now. But right now, I'm
Who
like,
knows? Who knows?
I know. And I'm like,
You're a
I'm
dancer.
I'm not ready to just don't put me in a corner.
No, no. And I
Um,
think that's the big shift in the aha that each one of us has. And it's being open to surprises. And one of the things that Richard says is that delight invokes grace. I mean, it's just,
and that's what it feels like to me. To me, it feels like I am opening and receiving. Like I have to soften my mind, my eyes, my ears, because my eyes will be constantly scanning for what needs to be fixed, where do I need to be. But if I soften my eyes, soften my mind, open my heart, it's just there.
yeah.
So it is like what did you just say? Because it was like allowing the grace to flow through us. It was like
Mhm.
accepting the grace that is always there for us. It is like
Yeah.
receiving it. So, yeah, I'm still not so sure about the ecstasy of pain. I I haven't quite found it. I have used the term exquisite pain.
Well, isn't pain just I mean, I don't, pain is there just to remind us where we may be off course,
Yeah,
you know? It's just, it's like, oh, yeah, wow. Or you got to be really, this is where you're tending to your garden. Are you picking up on somebody else's pain? I mean,
yeah,
as empaths, we do it a lot, we do this a lot, and you're like, okay, is this
and then we
mine?
get to transmute it, right? I mean,
Exactly.
even if it isn't ours, we
Right.
get to like go, okay, what am I doing with this? I'm feeling this now in my body. How do I I am the agent of choice, right?
Right.
And if I am a dancer of being whose radiance, I follow the Gene Key profile, and of course we don't follow anything with rigidity because we're all just using this as it's just a play model. I hear you, Richard Rudd. He was
Yes.
so funny. He was like, I want you to laugh at every system you think you have to be so tied
Yeah.
into. But anyway, but if I follow that, it makes so much sense to me because radiance, I want more of that in my life. I want more ecstasy. So why wouldn't I operate with delight? You know? So yeah. Yeah. And the beautiful thing, can we talk about the programming partner?
Oh, the programming partner of
So the programming
universal.
partner, I'm just going to say because it's my purpose,
Mm,
is
universal love.
universal love. And I think how those fit together are so beautiful because it is uh the gift of the 2015 key is acceptance, right? And he talks
Mhm.
about constriction. And I know that constriction in my body, which is where I'm really starting to notice it before I can even see it in my mind or feel it in my heart, I feel it in my body first. So when there's a tension, I'm like, okay, what am I constricting? How can I let this go? What, you know, what am I not wanting to face? What am I resisting? But as soon as I get to a place of acceptance, delight can follow. The two of those are
Yeah.
so seriousness and constriction, delight and acceptance. Then it gets to go to the ecstatic and the love, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, and I have one thing I wanted to say is I listened to an amazing, for anybody who is an activist, who is in any kind of movement related, and I don't mean just body movement, I mean like an initiative of creating change in a movement. there is a new program that's going to be run by a woman named Stacy Haynes. I will put the link in. But what it made me excited about is it is for leaders to create change by creating change within their body. It is using somatic awareness to lead for global justice
That's
on
awesome.
every level, climate,
It
gender.
all has to start here.
It does. And the fact that they're using somatics as the jumping off point of we can't stop the pain in the world if we're holding on to our own pain, right?
Exactly.
If we're constricted. So it is I listened to it this week and it gave me so much joy to hear that two of my favorite realms on the planet are now intersecting. And anyway, got me excited. So because that's who I love working with, are people who are doing big change in the world. So
And in closing, not to take anything too seriously, I'm feeling like I want to
you
do the affirminator stack.
You can just explain a little bit about Affirminator. Like the deck is for.
The deck is for their 50 affirmation cards to help you help yourself without the self-helpiness.
So basically, it's without the seriousness.
Exactly.
Which is what I know. And spiritual people are some of the most serious on the planet, I think.
Whatever.
Yeah. Hey, what did you choose for us today?
Okay, so it's all about vitality.
Well, that makes sense to me because that has a lot to do with body.
Yes, the body. I am healthy and vital and strong. My radiant love of life fills me with healthy, vital, and strong cells. Each cell is a warrior. Everyone has its own sword and shield. I dare you to penetrate my cellular army. I didn't, because I didn't think so, chump. So one of the things that I am recalling, is just be really kind to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Our body hears everything. It's picking up subtleties. So even how we communicate with our cells, they're listening. So vitality, it's important to have some delight in your life and create that delight for your body.
Absolutely. What a beautiful place to close. As always, we welcome your questions, your comments, suggestions on how we can make this material even more accessible to you. And I would love to hear from anybody who wants to share is how do you create delight? How do you feel it in your body? These are where we get to play as a species, as a collective, right? So, Susanne, you are a joy. Thank you so much for being a part of my life.
Thank you, Deborah Leanne. You are delightful.
Until next time, we'll see you then.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.